son of a Polish immigrant, raised in the shadow of steel mills during the Great Depression. He started as a pitcher with a dream and a $65 monthly salary. He would become the most beloved player in St. Louis Cardinals history: 7 batting titles, 3 MVP awards, 3 World Series championships, 24 All-Star selections, more than anyone in baseball history at the time. Brooklyn Dodgers fans, his fiercest rivals, gave him his nickname. They could not beat him, so they honored him. Every time he stepped to the plate, they chanted, "Here comes the man. His name is Stan Musial." And this is the story of baseball's perfect night. Stanley Frank Musial was born on November the 21st, 1920, in Donora, Pennsylvania, a small industrial town about 30 miles south of Pittsburgh. The air was thick with smoke from the zinc works and steel mills that lined the Monongahela River. It was a hard place to grow up, but it produced tough people and remarkable athletes. Donora would later become known for producing sports legends. In addition to Stan, the town produced sports legends, including Ken Griffey Sr. and Ken Griffey Jr., football star Deacon Dan Towler, and Army quarterback Arnold Galiffa. Stan was the 5th of 6 children, 4 girls and 2 boys, born to Łukasz Musial and Mary Lankos. His father was a Polish immigrant who had come to America from Przemysl, a town near what was then the Russian border. Łukasz always called his son Stasiu. His mother was Czech-American, born in New York City. They were working-class Catholic immigrants who settled in Donora to find work. Family defined their daily life. Łukasz worked at the American Steel and Wire Company, loading bales of wire onto freight cars, back-breaking labor for modest pay. The work was dangerous and exhausting, and it wore on him. The family struggled during the Great Depression. Łukasz's work was irregular, and the financial strain contributed to his battle with alcoholism. Mary Musial worked long hours as a domestic servant to help make ends meet. The family often relied on food donations to get by. But young Stan had a dream. From the time he was 8 years old, he wanted to be a big-league ball player. His mother would make baseballs for him out of whatever materials she could find, a little bit of this and that. Stan later recalled, he played constantly with his brother Ed and neighborhood friends, absorbing everything he could about the game. Stan learned baseball from his neighbor Joe Barbao, a former minor league pitcher who recognized the boy's natural talent. At 15, he joined the Donora Zincs, a semi-professional team managed by Barbao. In his very first game, pitching against grown men, the skinny teenager struck out 13 batters in 6 innings. At Donora High School, Stan excelled in both baseball and basketball. The University of Pittsburgh offered him a basketball scholarship, but baseball was his true love. He was good enough that the St. Louis Cardinals came scouting. In 1937, while still in high school, 17-year-old Stan signed a professional contract with the Cardinals. His father initially resisted the idea, but his mother supported the dream. Stan later credited his school librarian, Helen Close, for encouraging him to pursue baseball professionally. The Cardinals held the contract until June 1938, allowing Stan to finish his senior year. He was the only member of his family to graduate from high school, an achievement that made his parents proud, despite their initial concerns about his baseball dreams. Then he reported to Williamson, West Virginia, to begin his professional career as a left-handed pitcher. That first year in the minor leagues was a period of adjustment both on and off the field. Stan earned $65 per month, good money during the Depression, but still a modest sum, and he learned to live independently while battling homesickness. He finished his high school education during the off-season before returning to Williamson. He posted a 6-6 record with a 4.66 earned run average. But he also batted .258 when given the chance to hit, showing flashes of the talent that would define his career. His numbers improved in 1939 when he went 9-2 with a 4.30 earned run average while batting .352. It was also during his time in the minors that Stan met the love of his life. Lillian Susan Labache was the daughter of a local grocer. Her father took her to see the Donora Zincs play in 1934, when both she and Stan were 15 years old. Lillian watched the young pitcher on the mound and something clicked. She later said that when she saw him, she knew he was the one. The two began dating and fell deeply in love. They were high school sweethearts in the truest sense, and they would remain devoted to each other for the rest of their lives. On May 25, 1940, Stan and Lillian were married in Daytona Beach, Florida, where Stan was playing for the Cardinals' Class D affiliate. He was 19 years old. Their first child arrived in August of that year. But while his personal life was flourishing, Stan's pitching career was about to end, and his true destiny was about to begin. During the 1940 season in Daytona Beach, Stan was playing in the outfield between pitching starts, a common practice to keep young pitchers active and to utilize their athletic ability. His manager, Dickie Kerr, recognized that Stan had unusual talent with a bat and wanted to keep him in the lineup as much as possible. While diving for a fly ball one afternoon, Stan landed hard on his left shoulder. The injury would permanently damage his ability to throw with the velocity needed for pitching. His arm would never fully recover. It could have been the end of his baseball dream. Many young pitchers with injured arms simply faded away, returning to their hometowns and factory jobs. Stan might have gone back to Donora and the steel mills that employed his father. Instead, it was the beginning of something greater. Dickie Kerr was no ordinary minor league manager. He was a former major leaguer who had been one of the honest players on the infamous 1919 Chicago Black Sox team, the squad that threw the World Series. Kerr had pitched brilliantly in that tainted series, winning 2 games despite his teammates' corruption. He knew talent when he saw it. Kerr had been watching Stan hit between pitching starts, and he saw something special: a natural swing, quick wrists, excellent bat control. When Stan's arm gave out, Kerr suggested that Stan forget about pitching and focus entirely on hitting. "You might not have the arm anymore," Kerr told him, "but you've got a major league bat." In 1941, Stan tore through the minor leagues as an outfielder. He batted .352 for Springfield, Missouri, and then was promoted to Rochester, where he continued to dominate. By September, the Cardinals called him up to the majors. Stan made his major league debut on September 17, 1941, in the second game of a doubleheader against the Boston Braves. He was 20 years old. In his first at-bat, he popped out, but in his second at-bat, he laced a double to drive in 2 runs. Over the final 12 games of the season, Stan collected 20 hits for an astonishing .426 batting average. 6 days after his debut, he hit the first of what would be 475 career home runs. The Cardinals finished just 2.5 games behind the Brooklyn Dodgers that year, but young Stan had announced his arrival. The next 2 decades would belong to him. In 1942, his first full season, Stan batted .315, with 72 runs batted in. He was not yet the dominant force he would become, but he was a key contributor to one of the greatest teams in Cardinals history. That 1942 Cardinal squad was known as the St. Louis Swifties. They put on one of the most remarkable pennant drives in baseball history, winning 43 of their last 51 games. They finished with 106 victories, still the most in Cardinals franchise history, and captured the National League pennant. Stan was part of an outstanding outfield alongside Terry Moore and Enos Slaughter, 3 players who formed what many considered the finest offensive and defensive outfield combination in baseball at the time. The World Series matched the Cardinals against the mighty New York Yankees, who had won 5 of the previous 6 championships. The Yankees featured legendary hitters like Joe DiMaggio and were heavy favorites to add another title to their dynasty. In Game 1, Stan represented the winning run at home plate in the bottom of the 9th inning with the bases loaded. The pressure was immense. He grounded out, and the Cardinals lost. It looked like the Yankees' dominance would continue. But the young Cardinals were not intimidated. Led by their pitching and aggressive play, they stormed back to win 4 straight games and claim the championship in one of the great upsets in World Series history. The 21-year-old Stan was a World Series champion in his rookie season. After the series, Stan returned to Donora, Pennsylvania, where he worked part-time as a clerk in his father-in-law's grocery store. His teammate Marty Marion later remembered Stan at the train station in New York, saying goodbye to the team. He was crying like a baby, Marion recalled, shaking hands with everyone. Stan was emotional about leaving his teammates and perhaps sensing the uncertainty ahead as World War II escalated. Years later, when asked about the greatest thrills of his career, Stan always included that 1942 series. He later said that winning the World Series as a rookie, beating the Yankees, was a moment he never forgot. The following year, 1943, Stan established himself as the premier player in baseball. With many stars away serving in World War II, he dominated the National League like few players ever had. He led the league with a .357 batting average, 220 hits, 48 doubles, 20 triples, and he also led in slugging percentage, on-base percentage, total bases, and wins above replacement. At just 22 years old, Stan won his first Most Valuable Player award, the first of 3 he would earn in his career. The Cardinals returned to the World Series but lost to the Yankees in 5 games. Stan hit just .220 in that series, one of the few disappointments of his early career. The loss stung, but he was determined to return. In 1944, Stan won his second consecutive batting title with a .347 average and helped lead the Cardinals to another pennant. This time, the World Series was an all-St. Louis affair against the American League's Browns, the only time in history 2 teams from the same city have played each other for the championship. The Streetcar Series, as it was called, captivated St. Louis. Both teams played at the same stadium, Sportsman's Park, which meant neither had home field advantage in the traditional sense. The city was divided between Cardinals and Browns fans, though the Cardinals had the larger following. The Cardinals won in 6 games. Stan hit a .304 average in the series, including his only World Series home run, a blast off Browns pitcher Sig Jakuki in Game 4. It was his second championship ring in 3 years, and he was only 23 years old. The future seemed limitless. Then the war intervened. In early 1945, Stan was drafted into the United States Navy. He spent 14 months in the service, stationed at Bainbridge, Maryland, and Honolulu, Hawaii, where he played baseball for the Navy teams. He missed the entire 1945 season, a year that could have added significantly to his already impressive statistics. But Stan never complained about his service. He was discharged in time to rejoin the Cardinals for the 1946 season, and he picked up exactly where he had left off. The 1946 season was magical. Stan won his second Most Valuable Player award with a .365 batting average, leading the league in hits, doubles, triples, and slugging percentage. The Cardinals battled the Brooklyn Dodgers all season and finished tied for first place, forcing the first playoff in National League history. The Cardinals won the playoff series and advanced to the World Series against the Boston Red Sox. It was billed as a showdown between Stan and Ted Williams, the 2 greatest hitters in baseball, the best of the National League versus the best of the American League. Williams struggled in the series, batting just .200. The Cardinals employed a defensive shift against him, moving their fielders to the right side of the infield, which neutralized his pull-heavy swing. Stan hit .222 in the series, not his best, but solid. The series went the full 7 games. In the decisive final game, Cardinals outfielder Enos Slaughter made his famous mad dash, scoring from first base on a double when the Red Sox shortstop held the relay throw to give St. Louis the championship. Stan and the Cardinals were world champions for the 3rd time in 5 years. At just 25 years old, he had 3 rings and 2 Most Valuable Player awards. The dynasty seemed poised to continue for years. But the 1946 World Series would prove to be Stan's last as a player. Though the Cardinals remained competitive and though Stan continued to dominate, they never returned to the Fall Classic during his playing career. It remains one of the great what-ifs of baseball history. How many more championships might Stan have won with stronger supporting casts in the years that followed? It was also during that magical 1946 season that Brooklyn Dodgers fans gave Stan his immortal nickname. During a series at Ebbets Field, Stan was destroying Brooklyn pitching as he always did. Sports writer Bob Broog, traveling with the Cardinals, heard Dodgers fans chanting whenever Stan came to bat. He could not quite make out the words at first. Then it became clear. The Brooklyn faithful were chanting, "Here comes the man." Broeg wrote about it in the St. Louis Post-Dispatch on September 20th, 1946, crediting Brooklyn fans with bestowing the best nickname yet on Stan. The name stuck. From that day forward, he was Stan the Man. It was fitting that his rivals had named him. Stan was particularly devastating against Brooklyn. In 1948 alone, he hit .522 against Dodgers pitching, with a slugging percentage over 1.000 at Ebbets Field. The fans who had christened him the Man had good reason for their grudging respect. The 1948 season was Stan's greatest statistical year and one of the finest individual seasons in baseball history. He led the National League in batting average at .376, in hits with 230, in runs with 135, in runs batted in with 131, in doubles with 46, in triples with 18, in total bases with 429, in slugging percentage at .702, and in on-base percentage at .450. He led the league in virtually every significant offensive category except one, home runs. He hit 39 that year, one behind the league leaders Johnny Mize and Ralph Kiner, who tied with 40 each. One home run, that's all that separated Stan from the Triple Crown. According to Stan's longtime roommate, Red Schoendienst, there was even a home run that was taken away from him. During a game in Philadelphia, Stan hit a towering drive that struck a speaker in Shibe Park and bounced back onto the field. Under the ground rules, it was ruled a double. If it had been called a home run, Stan would have tied for the league lead and achieved the Triple Crown. He won his third Most Valuable Player award that season, his final Most Valuable Player award, though he would remain an elite player for another 15 years. He was 27 years old and at the absolute peak of his powers. There seemed to be no limit to what he could achieve. Stan also had 4 games that season with 5 hits, tying Ty Cobb's 20th century record for most 5-hit games in a single year. He was simply unstoppable. His unique batting stance became legendary. He stood deep in the batter's box, crouched low with his knees bent, his back turned slightly toward the pitcher. Pitcher Ted Lyons once described it as a kid peeking around the corner to see if the cops were coming. Another writer compared him to a coiled rattlesnake. But from that unorthodox stance, Stan unleashed one of the sweetest swings in baseball history. He rarely swung and missed. He could drive the ball to any field. He was impossible to defend against and nearly impossible to strike out. He never had more than 46 strikeouts in any season. The 1946 World Series would prove to be Stan's last as a player. Though the Cardinals remained competitive, they never returned to the Fall Classic during his playing career. It remains one of the great what-ifs of baseball history. How many more championships might Stan have won with a stronger supporting cast? Instead, he focused on individual excellence, and in that department, he had few peers. Throughout the 1950s, Stan continued to dominate despite playing on Cardinals teams that often struggled. He won 4 more batting titles in 1950, 1951, 1952, and 1957, giving him 7 for his career. He made the All-Star team every single year, compiling 24 selections by the time he retired, a record he shared with Hank Aaron and Willie Mays. In 1957, Stan set a National League record by playing in his 823rd consecutive game, breaking Gus Sear's previous mark. He actually extended the streak to 895 games before it ended in August 1957. On May 7, 1959, Stan hit the 400th home run of his career, making him the first player in Major League history to have both 400 home runs and 3,000 hits. This was a major milestone. On May 13, 1958, Stan collected his 3,000th career hit, a pinch-hit double against the Chicago Cubs at Wrigley Field. He was just the 8th player in Major League history to reach that milestone. Both Stan and his manager, Fred Hutchinson, had hoped Stan would get number 3,000 the following night at home in St. Louis, in front of the Cardinals faithful, but when the manager needed a pinch hitter in the 6th inning, Stan was the best option. True to form, he delivered. The next night, in his first at-bat at home in St. Louis, Stan launched a home run onto the right field pavilion roof for hit number 3001. The hometown fans gave him a standing ovation that seemed to last forever. Even as he aged, Stan remained productive. In 1962, at 41 years old, he batted .330 and finished 3rd in the National League batting race, missing his 8th batting title by just 16 points. He was still among the best hitters in baseball at an age when most players had long since retired. But Stan knew when it was time to go. On September 29, 1963, Stan played the final game of his Major League career against the Cincinnati Reds at Busch Stadium. It was the same day his number 6 jersey was retired by the Cardinals, the first number ever retired in franchise history. In his final at-bat in the first inning, facing pitcher Jim Maloney, Stan struck out, but the crowd did not care. They gave him a thunderous ovation as he walked back to the dugout. At the ceremony before the game, Major League Baseball Commissioner Ford Frick delivered words that would become Stan's epitaph. "Here stands baseball's perfect warrior. Here stands baseball's perfect knight." The phrase captured something essential about Stan, not just his excellence as a player, but his character as a man. He had played the game with skill, passion, and integrity for 22 years. He had never been ejected. He had never embarrassed himself or his team. He was, in every sense, a knight. The crowd gave him a standing ovation that seemed to last forever. Stan, emotional and humble as always, thanked his mother and family for making me a Cardinal forever. His teammates embraced him in the dugout. His wife Lillian watched from the stands, wiping away tears. After nearly a quarter century in a Cardinals uniform, Stan the man was hanging up his spikes. His final career statistics were staggering. In 22 seasons, all with the Cardinals, Stan batted .331 with 3,630 hits. At the time, the second most in baseball history behind only Ty Cobb. He drove in 1,951 runs, scored 1,949 runs, and hit 475 home runs. He led the National League in doubles 7 times, in triples 5 times, and in slugging percentage 6 times. When he retired, he held or shared 17 Major League records and 29 National League records. He had been named to 20 All-Star teams in 22 seasons, missing only the All-Star team in 1941 when he was in the minors and 1945 when he was in the Navy. Perhaps most remarkably, in more than 3,000 games, Stan was never once ejected. His sportsmanship was as legendary as his hitting. In 1969, in his first year of eligibility, Stan was elected to the Hall of Fame. He received votes on 317 of 340 ballots, 93.2%, the third highest percentage in history at that time, after only the inaugural 1936 class. But Stan's story did not end with his playing career. In many ways, his impact only grew after he stepped off the field. In 1963, immediately after retiring, Stan was named Vice President of the Cardinals. He remained in that role until 1966, staying connected to the organization he had served for more than 2 decades. Then in 1967, 4 years after his final game, Stan was named General Manager of the Cardinals. In his one and only season in that role, the team won the World Series, defeating the Boston Red Sox in 7 games. His old roommate, Red Schoendienst, was the manager. Bob Gibson dominated on the mound. Orlando Cepeda won the Most Valuable Player award. It was fitting that Stan's touch turned the Cardinals into champions once again. Having achieved that success, he stepped down as general manager. He had proven he could win from the front office too. Throughout his life, Stan remained devoted to St. Louis, the city that had adopted him as a young man from Pennsylvania and made him its favorite son. He co-owned a popular restaurant, Stan Musial and Biggie's, which became a landmark for Cardinals fans. The restaurant opened in 1949 and became a gathering place where fans could rub shoulders with their hero. Stan stayed active in the community, signing autographs for children and visiting hospitals without seeking publicity. He showed up at charity events, Little League games, and civic functions. He never forgot that his success belonged not just to him, but to the fans who had supported him. He also carried a harmonica everywhere he went. Stan loved music and would often break into song at gatherings, entertaining teammates and fans alike with renditions of Take Me Out to the Ball Game and other favorites. It was part of his charm, the Hall of Famer who never forgot how to have fun. Stan's character was tested during one of baseball's most difficult periods, the integration of the sport. When Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier with the Brooklyn Dodgers in 1947, many players reacted with hostility. Robinson was taunted, spiked, and threatened. Some Cardinals players were among those who expressed opposition to integration. There were even rumors of players organizing boycotts against teams with black players. But Stan had grown up playing sports with African Americans in Donora. His high school teammate Buddy Griffey would later father Ken Griffey Sr. and become the grandfather of Ken Griffey Jr. To Stan, skin color had never mattered on the playing field. He saw no reason why black players should not compete in the major leagues. While Stan was not outspoken about integration, that was not his style. He preferred to lead by example rather than by proclamation. He treated Robinson and all black players with respect and dignity. He refused to participate in any discussions of boycotts or strikes. When teammates grumbled about playing against Robinson, Stan simply walked away. Robinson later acknowledged that Stan always treated him with courtesy. It was a simple statement, but in the context of the abuse Robinson faced, courtesy was no small thing. Many players could not offer even that basic human decency. Years later, when Willie Mays was a young player rising through the ranks, Stan made a point of joining a card game with black players on an airplane headed to an all-star game. Other white players sat apart, but Stan walked over and dealt himself in. Mays never forgot the gesture. "That told me how classy he was," Mays said. "I never forgot that." Stan also once stopped a teammate who was mocking a Jewish cab driver. He paid for the cab ride himself and warned the teammate never to get in a cab with him again. He had no tolerance for bigotry of any kind. In 2011, at age 90, Stan received the Presidential Medal of Freedom from President Barack Obama, the highest civilian honor in the United States. It recognized not just his baseball achievements, but the life he had led and the example he had set. In presenting the medal, Obama noted that Stan had served his country during World War II, had been a model of sportsmanship throughout his career, and had remained a positive presence in American life for 7 decades. Stan was among the youngest recipients of the honor. Frail, but still smiling, Stan received the medal in a ceremony at the White House. His family surrounded him. It was one of the last great public moments of his remarkable life. Through it all, through the championships and the batting titles and the All-Star games and the Presidential Medal, Lillian was by his side. Their marriage lasted nearly 72 years, from the day they wed in Daytona Beach in 1940 until her death in May 2012. It was an extraordinary partnership that had begun when they were teenagers watching semi-pro baseball in Pennsylvania. Lillian had raised their 4 children while Stan traveled with the team. She had supported his career, managed their household, and kept their family grounded. When people asked about the secret to their long marriage, Stan always gave credit to Lillian. She was his rock. When Lillian died, Stan was devastated. She passed at their home in Ladue, Missouri, and he was by her side. They had been together for almost 75 years in total, and he had never loved anyone else. Her death on May 3rd, 2012, came at 6 o'clock in the evening. Number 6, his jersey number, her favorite number. Stan survived his beloved wife by just 8 months. He died on January the 19th, 2013, at his home in Ladue, Missouri, surrounded by his family. He was 92 years old. The news spread quickly through St. Louis and across the baseball world. Fans gathered at his statue outside Busch Stadium, leaving flowers, cards, and mementos. Many wept openly. Thousands braved cold temperatures to pay their respects during a 6-hour public visitation at the Cathedral Basilica of St. Louis. Stan lay in state, dressed in his trademark Cardinal red blazer, with a harmonica in his lapel pocket, ready to play one last song. His funeral mass was held on January 26, 2013. 6 living Cardinals Hall of Famers attended: Ozzie Smith, Lou Brock, Bob Gibson, Whitey Herzog, Bruce Sutter, and Red Schoendienst, his old roommate and lifelong friend. Broadcaster Bob Costas delivered the eulogy. "No one in St. Louis ever had to wonder where Stan had gone," Costas said. "He was right here at home. Our greatest ball player, sure, but also our friend, our neighbor. And that is why the bond and attachment between this player and this city is unique and lasting." After the Mass, the funeral procession traveled to Busch Stadium, stopping in front of Stan's statue. Members of the family laid roses at the base as hundreds of fans sang "Take Me Out to the Ball Game," Stan's favorite. The legacy Stan left behind extends far beyond statistics. A bronze statue of him stands outside Busch Stadium, inscribed with Commissioner Frick's words about baseball's perfect warrior and perfect knight. The road outside the stadium is named Stan Musial Drive. A bridge connecting Missouri and Illinois over the Mississippi River bears his name, the Stan Musial Veterans Memorial Bridge. In Poland, a stadium named after him stands in Kutno, a town he visited in 1987, donating $50,000 worth of sports equipment to promote baseball in his ancestral homeland. He was made an honorary citizen and received Poland's highest civilian honor. But perhaps his greatest legacy is simpler than any of that. A stranger once approached Stan's grandson during the Hall of Famers public viewing. The man had tears running down his face. His grandson said his grandfather's best attribute was that he made nobodies feel like somebodies. That was Stan. 7 batting titles, 3 Most Valuable Player awards, 3 World Series championships, 3,630 hits, a lifetime batting average of .331, 24 All-Star selections, first ballot Hall of Famer. But more than all the numbers, he was a man who treated everyone, from presidents to children asking for autographs, with the same warmth and respect. He played the game the right way, and he lived his life the same way. In an era of inflated egos and controversy, Stan stood apart. He never demanded the spotlight. He never complained about his contracts. He never made enemies. He simply showed up every day, gave everything he had, and went home to the family he loved. When people ask what made Stan different, the answer is simple. He understood that greatness is not just about what you achieve. It is about who you are when no one is watching. And Stan was the same man, whether he was accepting a Most Valuable Player trophy or signing an autograph for a kid outside the stadium. He was Stan the man, baseball's perfect knight, a legend. Like and subscribe for more baseball documentaries. Until next time.